Hey, and welcome to the Casual Chats podcast. My name is Aaron Tracy, and thank you for checking this out. I'll just briefly tell you what this podcast is about. It's done in an interview style, and each episode I'll be talking to different people in the entertainment industry about what they do and how they make a living from it. I want it to be as relaxed as possible, so just imagine you, me, and the guest just sitting down in a coffee shop for a chat. It'll hopefully be a bit of fun, and you never know, you might learn a thing or two as well. Right, let's get into it. I had a great time chatting with today's guest. He really is such a nice fella, and I think you're really gonna like him. This is my interview with Andrew Marshall. My guest today has performed to crowds in excess of 50,000 people. He's been on shows such as Tonight with Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel Live, SNL, and performed at the AMAs. He's currently playing drums for the one and only Billie Eilish. Hello, Andrew Marshall.
Hey man, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. It's really cool. I really appreciate you coming on.
My pleasure.
I suppose we'll just get into it. So, you play drums for Billie Eilish.
That's right. Have been for about 2.5 years.
Two and a
Almost two
half
and a half years.
years.
Yeah.
That's a long time. So we'll just start by asking, when did you first start playing the drums?
I started playing when I was 9, um, and really for no other reason than I thought it looked cool. I think I had a friend that played drums in school or something, and I just convinced my parents to buy me a drum set somehow.
Deadly.
Yeah.
And does anyone else in your family like do anything musically? Like this?
Not really. Funnily enough, I mean, a couple people play a little bit for fun, but um, I wasn't looking at like a family member who was a professional musician or anything like that. But my parents were like unbelievably supportive, and um, they like got me lessons, and they took like enrolled me in after school music programs. And actually, I went to a high school that was really not like 100% specialized, but like really strong in music for that reason.
Hmm.
And they take me to jazz clubs like to motivate me and concerts and stuff. So
Jazz.
yeah.
That's
So
cool.
yeah,
That's really cool. Do
yeah.
you like jazz music?
Yeah, I mean, I came up as a jazz player, pretty much, until like I don't know, maybe college. I sort of saw myself as like if not like a straight ahead like 100% bop player, at least like a working drummer type person who was kind of mostly coming from jazz.
Okay.
Um, my teachers had jazz backgrounds. Uh, I played in jazz groups in high school, and learned how to improvise and studied Elvin and Philly Joe and all those people. And
Deadly.
yeah, I mean, that was kind of my thing. And then you know um somebody would ask me, hey, do you want to like play this gig with my rock band, or do you want to like do this like funk gig, or like playing this R&B band, or do a wedding or whatever. And then it was kind of like, oh, okay, I'm actually like more of a versatile player. Now I haven't played a jazz gig. Actually, the last gig that I did when I moved out of New York, I think was like a cocktail jazz gig. That was the last one I did like three plus years ago.
Really? So
Yeah.
basically, since you've been with Billy, you've stuck with the pop, basically.
Yeah. And I think that's just like a factor of like the crossover between those worlds. I
Hmm.
mean, unfortunately, as much as I love to like play jazz and country and R&B and like all these other styles, and on occasion I do on a session or whatever, and hopefully will in the future. You kind of, people tend to see you doing one thing, and then that's like the thing. And I think the pop rock songwriter and jazz worlds are two of the most far apart sort of worlds there
Hmm.
are. And even the crossover between them, you're not talking about like straight up electronic pop and straight ahead jazz. There's like people who do both sort of are in that fusion space.
Right. Yeah,
But
because I was
yeah.
kind of curious to hear that you just said you'd done jazz because like to me jazz is like completely different to what you're doing now. So like it's cool to know that like you came from like jazz, which is something interesting.
Yeah, well, the thing about jazz is like some jazz musicians can tend to think that they are above pop or rock music or anything like that because jazz is more complicated.
Right.
But pop music is insanely complicated. I mean, there's so much that goes into it. It's just a completely different headspace, a different way of thinking.
Especially nowadays with all the like electronic elements, it's like so common now to have like electronic like sounds in music as well. So like is that like hard to replicate kind of?
Right. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I'm referring to, or part of what I'm referring to when I talk about pop being really
Right,
complicated.
right, right.
It is hard, I mean it's extremely detailed. Um and the thing that about jazz is that like it teaches you how to learn other styles of music because you get inside the music, you transcribe solos, you learn changes and like the math behind like chord substitutions and all these things, and that sort of like gives you that technical basis to then be able to go and say, oh, okay, like I can dissect this pop song that has like six snare samples and like a clap with a reverb that happens one time, and how do I make all these things happen and
Yeah.
make it, you know, have live energy and integrate acoustic drums and all these things.
It just like sounds so complicated, but you do it very well anyways, so that's good.
Thank
Um
you.
so you're from New York originally, yeah?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah,
Westchester County.
and you moved to LA how long ago?
I guess it was the summer of 2017. So I guess it was actually a little bit under 3 years at this point.
Okay.
2 years, 10 months.
2 years, 10 months. And what did you do when you first got to LA? I assume. Well, did you have the gig with Billie Eilish before you went to LA?
No, I did not have the gig.
No.
Um, yeah, I got here and I freaked out for a while. Um, Actually, I did have, so I had a tour lined up before I moved. I had been playing with this awesome artist from New York called Verite, and I had been touring with her for like, I don't know, maybe 2 years, 2.5 years, something like that. And I moved here in July, and I had that tour starting like middle of August, and that ran basically through October, mid-October. So I got here, like basically dropped my bags and then got on a plane back to New York for rehearsals for that tour. And then I came back middle of October. And then I freaked out. Then I was like, okay, I have nothing going on in LA,
Yeah.
and also the season was kind of slowing down because touring and music in general slow down towards the end of November into December.
Right.
So, yeah, then I just kind of hung out, like practiced, like went to
So,
show.
so you got there, if I get this right, and then you went back to
Hmm.
where you originally started. So what did you do then when you got like back to LA after that was over?
Yeah, I mean, it was like 3 months, 2 or 3 months before I got the call to audition for Billy. And wasn't working much. I had a couple gigs here and there, a couple sessions, but it was
Mm,
definitely like kind of just slow times. But to be fair, I hadn't spent that much time in LA yet, so
right.
it was a good time. Like went to clubs and like saw bands and stuff.
And is that where like people like spot? Did someone spot you? Because you said you got the call. Like, did someone just like call you out of the blue, like who had seen you playing or something? Or
No, actually, I was recommended to Billy's management by a couple of friends who I knew already from New York.
oh,
People,
okay,
yeah, musicians who had moved from New York to LA either that year or previously, and they basically sort of cast a little bit of a net looking for drummers,
yeah.
um, and got recommendations from different people, and basically just through people that I had known for a while, my name got thrown in that hat.
Oh, that's really cool. So you got an audition. What happened after that?
Um, it was really fast. I did the audition. It was an audition tape. I sent in a video
Okay.
like everyone else. And I think either the day after I sent it in or like within 2 days, I had I got an email from the management and they were
Mm,
like, you know, we love your stuff, would like to talk to you. So um I did sort of like a phone call interview thing, And then next day they were like, okay, you got it, like, give us your passport info. And I knew it was going to be fast because the audition was like around Christmas, and they were leaving on like around the 20th or something of January for like a 3-month international tour that was hitting like Asia, like Singapore and Australia and all over Europe. And I was like, I know that visas have to get in for that. So like I better get this video in like
Yeah,
the
that's
second I
really,
got the
really
call.
soon. You think
Yeah.
these things, well, I would have thought like that'd be like done months and months in advance.
Yeah, I don't know. Somehow it worked out. But I just tried to get it in as fast as I could, and then I had to answer like within a couple days.
That's
So,
really, really cool. Had you
yeah.
heard of her? Had you heard of Billy? Were you familiar with any of her stuff?
I had only like just heard of her. Like she was sort of just entering my headspace. I didn't really know any of the music, but I definitely had heard the name. That was basically it. She
Yeah,
was. I kind of knew her as like a new artist that was like her. Her name was getting thrown around.
yeah, yeah. And did you like when you basically so you went on tour with her, when you seen like what she was doing basically, did you know it was gonna blow up as it has?
I didn't know that it was going to do what it's done. Like, it's definitely exceeded my expectations. Um, but I did know that it was going to be very cool, and I knew that it was going to be like a proper touring situation, and that she was getting really big, and like all the shows were sold out, and I think she had 500,000 followers or something like that at that time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And but the thing is, like, we were playing in Europe, we were playing 300 cap rooms, 3 to 500 cap. In New Zealand, Australia, similar 250, like, clubs, small
Yeah,
clubs.
yeah.
Then in the US, we would do like a 2 nights in a 700 cap room or something. So it was like, or like in B and C markets, we would do like 400 or 500 caps. So like to imagine like that going to,
What it
arenas
is.
and like huge festivals and stuff
Mm.
within 2 years, I couldn't see that trajectory.
I think realistically you'd be lying if you says, "Oh, I 100% knew that we were gonna be doing these huge sold out shows," like because, like I suppose no one can predict that. Even if you think it's gonna be huge, you can't say it's gonna happen.
Right. And even, I kind of thought like, okay, if this becomes like a regular touring thing where, we're in a bus and like, playing like internationally and playing theaters or something, I was like, that's like the sky, like,
Yeah,
I mean, that would be amazing. And that would be amazing. That's an amazing place to be. But then it
yeah.
just it just went. So
I'm sure. Like I'm not a drummer, but I'm sure if I was a working drummer, like that would be the absolute dream.
yeah, that was just my goal always, really, is just to just like make a living as a musician, and play different kinds of gigs. And the nature of it is like sometimes you play big gigs that pay well, and sometimes you play small gigs that don't pay well, or
Mm,
small gigs that do pay well, or big gigs that don't pay well. I mean, it's just like that's the nature of being a freelance musician, is you do all kinds of things to fill your calendar. And I was at the time, I just wanted to work. I just, wanted to share work and with other people, and like, get to know other drummers and
yeah.
be a part of the music community.
Geez, well, it certainly seems to have worked out that way. What is it like playing for like one of the biggest stars in music in the world right now, anyways?
You know, there are things about it that you might imagine like come with that,
Mm,
like yeah, like we're playing big venues. I have my own dressing room, like I'm on a nice bus, and like, we're like very well taken care of. And um I'm grateful and lucky to like have people reach out to me and like appreciate what I'm doing, and like
yeah,
my videos and whatnot. That's all like incredible, and it's amazing. But most of my headspace and like sort of what I inhabit, the place that I inhabit, like in regards to the gig, is what you would find on most other gigs, which are like the questions of how can I play better? How does the time feel? Like how do the drums sound? How's the tuning? Like um how does my snare drum sound? Like I'm
You still put
think
in the same amount of effort into making yourself sound the best, basically. Like, is that what you're? Is
yeah,
that what I'm getting? Yeah,
yeah, it's like how does the show flow well? Like how does how can we make the show sound better? Like just things that any musician would like encounter in any playing situation, the
yeah,
venue's bigger, the dressing room is nicer, but it's still three people on a stage playing music in real time,
yeah.
you know
That's that's cool. I just
yeah.
like it's so like it's not something that you hear every day. Kind of just hearing like you talk about like this is like what you do. It's really really interesting to hear. Speaking of touring, what is your favorite and least favorite part?
My favorite part is definitely the actual playing.
Really?
Like, yeah, I mean, that's why you tour,
Yeah,
is to get to play. Like, um, they say like, you get paid. The playing part is free, and you get paid to sit in a bus and sit in a plane and take a cab to a hotel and all that stuff. And it's all cool, and like we I love hanging out with the crew and everybody, and um it's really fun, and like we get to like go like find cool restaurants and coffee places in different countries around the world and whatnot.
yeah,
um but all of those things are so that we can put on a great show,
mm,
and that's why we're there, and that's what I prepared my whole life for, and that's what I love to do, is to get to play, and I'm always trying to like hit a pad in the practice room, and I always go to sound check, just because I want to play the drums. Like that's what I love to do.
yeah.
Ironically, I get to play a lot more when I'm home than when I'm on tour, you know um my
Especially now, anyways.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
and that's fine. That's I'm happy to be on tour, but I definitely take all the opportunities to play that I can. My least favorite part is jet lag. I'm like terrible at dealing with jet lag. I don't know how anyone gets better at it. I
oh
mean,
my
I'm
god.
trying, but like I'm still like, after years of touring, and even like before Billy, I was touring and dealing with jet lag, with other artists and stuff. And I don't know. It just destroys me. Like if I go to Europe or like Australia, or I come back from one of those places, it's like 4 days until I'm halfway normal.
Really? Because that must be really hard because I remember yous were here in Ireland in I think it was the end of August and I think yous were literally in the country for like 18 hours or something and then
Yep.
yous were off to another country and I'm like and if you can't deal with the jet lag that's definitely going to catch up on you. How do you manage it though? If you like are you like in bad humor or how does it work?
Um, the thing I try to do is embrace it. Like more recently, like when I go to Europe, I'll be waking up at 2 in the morning and I'm just up. And then I'm just like, okay, I'm just up. So I'll like go try to hit a yoga class at like 7.
Oh, you do
And
yoga.
yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah, it's a great thing to do on the road.
Yeah.
But just like try to get some things done and just accept that fact, instead of like sitting in bed until 8 a.m. like watching YouTube or whatever.
Yeah.
Um
Actually be somewhat productive or better in yourself or something.
I try to. Yeah, I try to. It's hard when you're so tired, but I think the hardest trip, that Ireland trip, I remember, I think we were coming from Russia and we were going to Italy after that.
Yes, you were going to Italy. That's right. Yeah,
Yeah. That was pretty wild.
I
But
think she
there
actually
was
broke her
one
leg there, didn't she? Or
in
she.
Italy,
I
she
think
sprained
so.
her ankle. Yeah.
Because I remember seeing on the story the next day, like it went from like one story in Ireland to Italy with a broken foot or something or sprained foot. Like
Yeah, that was so rough. I felt so bad for her.
I was like, that story was posted this many hours ago. Like they must have literally just like the jet lag.
Yeah, I mean, we're all dealing with it. Billy and Phineas are not immune. Although I don't know, they seem to be a little better than I am at it.
Or maybe
But
they just hide it better. It
yeah,
seems
I
like
don't
you
know.
hide it though as well. It does seem like you can hide it good.
I mean, probably, I can get through the show, like it's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah,
But um I remember there was one. one trip we played the BBC Radio 1 big weekend.
Oh yeah.
And I think we flew from LA and back to San Francisco because we were starting a tour and in the US. And so we were in the UK for like 36 hours or something. Like we got in the day before, played the show, and I think we might have gone to the airport that night or something.
Oh my
And
God.
I literally just like don't even remember playing the show. I got off stage and I was like, I'm in a haze right now. It was like,
Yeah. About performing on these huge stages, like what's it like looking out onto like however many, like I mentioned more than 50,000 at least at some of those festivals. What's that like feeling like? Do you even get to look out?
it's funny. I have this like plexiglass screen around me.
Yeah, I've noticed
Um,
that.
yeah, the drum shield. And so like a lot of the time, most of my field of view is sort of the reflection of the video screen behind me. I mean, I
Okay.
can still see the audience, of course, like around it and through it somewhat, but like when I think of my view on a stage, it's like kind of mostly reflections of the video behind me.
Really?
Yeah. But but yeah, I mean it's amazing, man. I mean, it's just like there have been many occasions where I've thought like I'm looking at a postcard right now, or
Mm,
it looks like a movie poster or something for
yeah,
some like
I'm looking at something that has definitely been photoshopped.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
like there's this we have this amazing photographer Matty Vogel, and one of his images, I mean many of his images have gotten used in all kinds of things, but one of them in particular, I think it was in Russia. It's like a shot of Billie like out at the end of the catwalk and just the entire crowd like around her, like it's the whole arena with her in the
Yeah.
middle of it. And I think it's been on like
Oh, I've seen this.
vinyl, it's been in posters, in ads, like that shot is
It's
everywhere.
it's actually, is that the one for the tour, like the actual tour poster? The
I think
I
so. I
think
think
it
it might
is
be.
because I was looking at that photo and I was like, oh, that's obviously. I was actually thinking that's a fake photo. That's actually
Uh,
real.
oh, that's real. And that's basically my view every
There's
night
like
on
five
stage.
500 like okay, that's an exaggeration. There's like thousands of like these lights from iPhones basically, and
Yeah.
you can see all these little like dots and all, and it's just, it actually, it really does look fake.
Yeah.
That's so mad
No,
that
yeah.
that's
So
real.
that yeah, I look at it and I'm like, that's like thinking about like looking at Red Rock, the audience at Red Rocks, or like even though that show or any of those shows, it's like this is like the cover of my memoir.
Yeah, jeez, that's really really cool.
Yeah.
I'm actually shocked that that's a real photo. Um, when you're doing all of this stuff, are you treated like, well, is it like luxurious, or are you staying in nice places? Are you staying in not nice places when you're like traveling? Are you staying in nice hotels, or is it sleeping on a bus? How does that work?
Yeah, these days they treat me really well, and always have. Um
Yeah.
it's definitely like nice hotels, and um we kind of have whatever we need.
Mm.
I mean, I don't walk into every place and somebody hands me a plate of grapes or something, but
Yeah,
it's
but
it's nice. It's definitely nice.
they treat you as you deserve to be treated.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for it. Billy's team is awesome and they really take care of everybody.
Yeah.
That said, like in the beginning and on other tours too that have been a part of, there was definitely a lot of slogging.
Mm. Because they're supposed to have to work within their means, and yeah.
Right, and touring is really expensive. There's a lot of
Mm.
overhead. So, in the beginning we were like sharing hotel rooms and like, you know, taking rough flights with connections and everything, and like that was fine. That was what touring was to me at that point. And that is still like what touring is in a lot of ways. I mean, you know, even if like the hotel is nice and like, you've got a driver to take you to the venue or whatnot, like you still might be dealing with jet lag or like a hectic travel schedule, or you've played 4 shows in the past four
Yeah.
days or, whatever it is, like it's still touring. And you
Money
know,
can't buy sleep.
right, right. And like the thing about the touring at this level is that obviously there's a lot of things that are different about it than like other tours or smaller tours or whatever. But there are a lot of things that are the same, which are just like, you get on a plane, you go somewhere, you take a taxi to the hotel,
Mm.
hang out for a bit, then you go to sound check, then you hang out for a bit and you play the show. I mean, it's just like I
And are
said
you
before.
comfortable? Are you comfortable around everyone? Is everyone like, is there a divide between people, or is it like kind of like family? As some people, like I've heard people saying, like, oh, it's like family. Is it like that, or
Yes, I would say it's definitely like family. And it also, there's the fact that, you know, there is a real family on the road.
yeah,
Billy
true,
and Phineas
actually,
and their
yeah.
parents are with us, and they are a really tight knit family, and yeah, it totally just um
They all seem lovely from, well, I don't know a lot about from Instagram, anyways. Like I know Billy's mom has set up this incredible um initiative, support and feed, which is basically, from what I know, taking it's the plant-based restaurants in LA and now in New York. She's, because of this COVID-19, I think they've lost a lot of business. She's set up this initiative where people can place an order online, and they can place an order for themselves, or they can place an order for, I think it's like people in like on the front line or in homeless shelters. I don't know. I think, do you know a bit about it, Andrew?
yep, yeah, no, that was a great summary. You can place an order. I think you can like donate to it right in like the Postmates app or whatever, or like
Yeah,
whatever food delivery app, and they're like delivering people food from plant-based restaurants to like doctors and nurses and stuff and first responders. And
really, really,
um,
really good
yeah,
initiative. So
shout out to Maggie and Support and Feed. That thing is awesome. They're amazing. The whole
no,
family
they
is
seem
awesome.
really, really, really like nice, genuine people. Like they're both, are they actors? I think they might be.
Yep, yeah,
Yeah,
both Billy and Phineas's parents are actors.
and I think, does Billy? Billy seems to like have something to do with, like, she seems to like, kind of like, I don't know if it's like the arts or something, but she's directed like her own videos and stuff, hasn't she? And is she she seems to be interested in that type of stuff.
Yeah, she is like very hands-on with everything in the whole project. And that goes from merch to music videos to videos like that we use live, on the screens, and lighting and colors and stage design and all everything. It all goes through her. It all comes from her. Um, to the point where like it's all an integral part of the art. Like I remember this one time, this kind of amazed me. There was one song, I think we threw in a song last minute or something, and like they didn't have the video for it, the music video, like to put
Mm.
up on the screens. And she cut the song because she didn't want to do it without the video. And I was
Really,
like, yeah, and I was like, wow, that is really, that really shows you like how her mind works, is like all these things are just connected.
like it
um
has to be perfect almost.
yeah,
Per
I mean, she knows what she likes and she's right like about it. I mean,
Yeah,
she
like
like,
like the visuals. If you haven't like seen a Billie Eilish gig or whatever, like the visuals that go on like behind what yous are all doing up there is like just as like interesting as like what's going on the stage. It's really cool. Like I
oh
think
yeah.
it's is a bad guy that's like the animation of the, like, I don't know what you call it, like a ghost or something. I don't know how to explain it, but that's really cool. And like, so she would have had an input in that anyways, would she?
Oh yeah. Yeah, or she would have probably come up with the concept, honestly.
Jeez,
um
that's cool.
and had notes on like, what exactly how it should be and what color it should be and when like things on the screen should happen. I mean, that's all very much coming from her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I distracted you from the original question there. I was asking, was it like a family? And I just started talking
Oh,
about
no, it's all
Maggie.
good.
So you were saying because her family are there, it's like it's really kind of close knit.
Yeah, they're really close knit. They, Billy and Phineas were homeschooled. They've all spent a lot of time together, and they're just really close. And it's really cool to see, just in general, and also to see it result in this, like just such
Yeah.
an amazing like working partnership. But yeah, they take care of each other, they take care of us, and I think that all kind of extends. Like, some of the crew have been there since, very early on and sort of have taken that journey from 300 cap clubs or 500 cap clubs to arenas. And yeah, it's not like just a bunch of faceless people who, got another gig. And obviously, like, our crew has expanded on every tour. And this past tour, the tour that wasn't, we had the biggest crew yet. And a lot of those people are new, and like, not everybody hasn't gotten to know each other yet, but
Mm. Because
um
you only got to do like what? How many shows did you get to do? Two or three, was it?
we did 3 shows. Yeah.
Three. Oh
Yeah.
god. And
um
obviously due to the whole everything happening now, that's been cancelled.
yeah,
Well,
just in
postponed. Postponed.
postponed, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
we're in a holding pattern right now.
Yeah.
So
That's really cool though to know that like it is like a family vibe. Like that's I'd say it makes you feel like a lot more like comfortable when like you go on. Like it sounds like you love it anyways, but just I suppose if you have bad people around you, it's not as easy to love, and at least they're all good.
yeah, no, I mean, and it hasn't happened to me many times, but I have been on, tough tours where that family vibe wasn't there with other artists.
Yeah,
And it's tough. Touring is hard enough.
yeah,
And like, even, with all the nice hotels and cheese plates in the world, it's still, you're still away from your family and your home, and you're living out of a suitcase, and you're jet lagged and all that
yeah,
stuff. So it's like, you know, having good people who care about you around is, it's really important. You spend a lot of time on the road. And even me as a band member, like, obviously this is a like unique kind of band. There's only one person effectively in it, because Billy and Phineas are the artist.
yeah.
They're basically a duo, even though her name is on the marquee.
Yeah,
So
that's something that like I think in fairness to her, she gives him so much credit for it. But like a lot of people who I talk to, and I'm like, oh geez, Billie Eilish is good, isn't she? And they're like, yeah, and oh my god, her brother is amazing. I'd say, and they'd be like, who's her brother? And I'm like, like her brother is like equally as talented and puts so much work into those songs, and like he's even like some of the songs he's like done himself. Like I really think like Phineas is really cool. Like I love his stuff as well,
yeah, yeah, totally. And his solo music is really awesome too.
isn't it?
Yeah, we got to play together for his project. We did the Jimmy Fallon show a couple months ago.
I seen that.
Um, yeah, that was really great.
That was awesome. That was really cool. Yeah, his song. Well, I mean, his old EP is really good, but I think it's is it "Let's Fall in Love for the Night." Did you do that one? I think you did.
Yeah, that's the one we did on Fallon.
Yeah, that one's really good. I'm starting to hear
Yeah.
that one on the radio over here as well, which is cool.
Oh, cool. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. And I'm seeing like people like share. Do you know the way like people like share on like Instagram? Like I'm seeing him popping up now, which is like really well deserved for him.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So moving on to a different topic, the Grammys. You were at the Grammys
Yeah,
this year.
I was.
What was that like?
That was it was wild, man. I didn't play, and that, which was fine. I got to go, and me
Hmm.
and my girlfriend went, and we just, sat up in the seats and just watched the whole thing. And we got to go to the pre-telecast where they do all the awards that aren't televised. And that was the thing that surprised me, because there was like 50 Grammys, or I don't even know, 80 Grammys or something or more, like, announced before the TV
Really?
portion.
Is
And they
that why some of the I seen a video of like people coming up and like telling people, "Hey, you just won a Grammy." I was like, "Would they not be on stage?"
Yeah, they don't televise all of them.
Oh my god, I
Um,
didn't know that. Well, it
right.
makes sense now.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess, in a situation where somebody was up for a Grammy that wasn't televised, like, it's possible they wouldn't be able to go to the Grammys. Like, I don't know if they're up for some
Yeah,
award
actually.
and they're on tour, or they're in like the middle of like some huge recording session for a movie or something. I don't know. Anyway, but that was like one of the coolest parts, because it's like much more intimate than the Grammys. It's not, there's no cameras. It's in the theater. I think it's the Microsoft Theater, is it? Next to Staples Center. It was like a theater, and you know, everybody's just kind of like sitting in the audience, and then they go up and accept the award, and it's just small. It was really cool. You get to see some of the like more off the beaten path awards. So that was great. And
That's
then
really good.
yeah, and we went over and took some pictures, and Grammy started, and we got to see like all the performers, Ariana Grande and Camila Cabello, and all these people, and
Yeah.
Billy and Finn crushed it. I mean, it was like wild, but it's very long. By the end of it, we were like, we have to eat some food right now.
How long? How long is it?
It was like almost 4 hours. It felt like three and a half or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Jesus.
but but
I mean, it sounds like fun, but yeah, you will be tired after that. I'd say it's exhausting, just even like listening to like all of that and cheering and like a concert's exhausting. So I can imagine what that's like.
yeah.
Um. So, did you ever think? Quick question about the Grammys. Did you ever think you'd actually be at the Grammys? Like, like even in the room, like.
I mean, all of these things have been ambitions from when I realized I wanted to play pop music.
Yeah.
And that happened in college at some point. I sort of discovered what the pop hired gun is, and the people that like their gigs are like growing up. I mean, this is sort of a very backstory heavy answer to a very simple question, but
Okay.
I'm gonna do it anyway.
Yeah. Go on.
Growing up, like all the musicians that I knew played gigs around town, mostly like jobbing musician sort of gigs. um and that's great, like that was awesome. I've done that. I did that in New York. I still love playing all kinds of gigs, like um but I knew that that wasn't what I wanted forever for my future. And like I discovered what the working pop drummer is, where your gig, oh, you got a gig on Saturday night, you're flying to Berlin to play a stadium or an arena or something like that. I didn't know what that was, and I discovered that. And so my ambitions sort of, I loved that whole thing, and my ambitions became like, yeah, play the Grammys, play the Super
Yeah.
Bowl, like play like
I
whatever,
mean, you need to have something to work towards, so like it wouldn't be unrealistic.
Yeah,
Like,
and like I don't know why, what about it that drew me in. I just loved it. That whole lifestyle, the idea of just like collecting the frequent flyer miles, and like, like just being this sort of like world traveling kind of person. Um, so did I ever think that it would happen that I would go to the Grammys? I hoped it would happen,
yeah, no,
I couldn't say
that's
for
the
sure.
answer. Like I would expect, I'd expect you to like believe in yourself and like hope that that would happen, and like
Yeah,
you'll probably be playing them next. So, um,
that'd be great.
yeah, right. So that's cool. Thanks for answering that question.
Sure.
So by what we've just heard, you've achieved so much already, considering you're only 28 years old. But what is a goal that like you're still working towards? I'm sure there's loads, but like what is one of the main ones?
Yeah, there are loads. I mean, they're all mostly like concerning playing and recording, like knowledge based things. I mean, like gig wise, I've definitely checked a lot of things off the bucket list, and like that doesn't mean that I don't want to play certain gigs again, or certain
Mm.
TV shows or whatever that I haven't played. And um but now I'm just kind of like, I really want to get better. Like I want to get better at drums. I want my time to get better. I want my groove to get better. Like I want to get better at tuning. I want to get better at double kick. Like better at recording and learning about mic placement and mixing and all these things. I mean, that's sort of where I'm at.
You do a lot of work in like you don't just drum, but you also do a lot of. Now I'm no good with this type of stuff, but basically, do you want to talk about it? Ableton? What is Ableton for like those of us who don't know?
Sure, yeah, I'm happy to talk about Ableton.
The big smile on your face.
Yeah, this is the topic. Yeah, I mean, like you said, I do a lot of like technical things outside of drumming, whether it's using Ableton in the live context or like recording stuff at home. But Ableton basically is a software that most live shows today are run off of. It runs the tracks, it runs the click tracks, um, MIDI instruments are played, from it, it sends program changes to like hardware synths to, change
Mm.
patches. I mean, it basically is acts as the brain of the
Okay.
live show. Um,
So you do loads of that from reading your bio. Anyways, you seem to like you probably do you do as much as that as you like do drumming, like actual drumming? Do you do a lot of like would that be called programming? I'm not sure, but like do you do a lot of that stuff?
Programming, I guess I would call it programming. I don't know. I think it's probably equal in the broader sense. I mean, at certain times, I'm definitely doing more programming than drumming,
Hmm.
or more of one than the other. Like if I'm, for example, like if I'm learning a set of music, like when I was learning Billy's show, um, that is definitely more programming heavy than drumming, ironically, because the programming I think just takes longer than like learning songs,
Hmm.
and requires like more tweaks and sort of like fine tuning to get it right. Like, you know, I have to decide which samples I'm going to play and where they go and how they change throughout songs and things to serve the music. How do I best execute the music? And that's pretty programming heavy. But once the show is locked and in place and I'm like on a tour, then I'm just playing mostly. I don't have to like manage Ableton sets. At least with Billy, we have a playback tech and we have an MD, and they sort of handle like all the track stuff. And um in that context, now I'm just one small part of it. I just program my drum
Okay.
pads and I send it over, and then that's it.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, but
so
I like as someone who like doesn't really know a lot about like that sort of industry, I would be like ignorant to it all and just think you go out like hit a few drums and then just practice hitting drums at home. So like it's cool to like know that like that there is a lot more work that goes into it, kind of.
yeah, I mean, I think um it's key for any working drummer now, or most like working musicians in pop music, at least, to have at least some kind of handle
Hmm.
on what that is. And I had like different exposures to it early on, but one of the main ones was with this artist Verite, where um we had an MD who was not in the band, and I was running the Ableton session. And I had done that before, but it was one of the heavier Ableton sessions I've run, and I had more responsibility than I had previously. And that was the situation I found myself in. It's like, you're the drummer, you run the tracks. That's just how it goes a lot of times.
Okay.
So if there was an issue on the road, I had to figure out how to troubleshoot it. So that's kind of how it started. And I was just like, oh, this is a necessity. Like, I need to know how to do this to do
Yeah.
this gig. I'm out on the road. I'm in a sound check. I'm having a problem. I need to fix it right now.
Yeah. Well,
Um, so it just came from there.
awesome. What is something that people would be surprised to find out about you?
Oh man, that's a good question. I don't know if I have an immediate answer to that, actually.
You were mentioning yoga earlier, which like I was surprised. Like, do you like do much of that? Like, cause that sounds interesting.
Yeah, I guess that is something that people might be surprised to find out. I do a lot of yoga. I do a lot of meditation. Um, I'm definitely in that sort of self-improvement zone, both
Yeah,
musically and like mentally, spiritually.
which is
Um,
really important, obviously. So,
yeah,
have you
emotionally.
always have you always been like into self improvement, like, or is it kind of a relatively new thing?
Probably since like college, I would say. I mean, I've always like worked hard at like getting better at music. Like I practiced in high school and stuff, but in college I sort of um my musical world expanded in terms of like optimizing everything to be better at music. Like my practicing became less about like technical things and more about, I would read books like this one book called Effortless Mastery by Kenny Werner, where he talks about, in order to be the best musician you can be and to be free and not like overthink what you're playing, you need to just like let go of the need to be good, and like, meditate. And there's just like all these things in the book about like just letting go and like letting your true musical self shine through. And
Yeah.
that sort of started me on this path of like, how do I be most honest in music? Like, how do I be the best I can be? Well, all of these things go into it, like being at like peak mental form in all
Mm.
ways.
Yeah. Better yourself.
Um,
Better your music.
better yourself, better music. Exactly. Yes, that's that's what I'm trying to say. Thank
Yeah.
you. Um, so yeah, and I think that I'm definitely very prone to um being my own worst critic. I'm definitely my own worst critic,
I
I'm
think
never
I don't think
satisfied.
there's I don't think there's anyone else in the world who like has a passion for something who like isn't their biggest self critic. Like I think it's like just something that comes programmed into the human mind. It's just like you're always your worst critic no matter whatever you're doing.
Yeah, totally. And it's, oh my man, it is the worst. It has tormented
It
me.
is the
Like,
worst.
yeah, people close to me will definitely attest to that. Like they'll be like, "Why you're beating yourself up over this thing that is amazing?"
Yeah.
And I think people might be surprised to find that out, where like most people might just think like, "Oh, I just sail on through and do the gig, the biggest gig ever, and like it's fine and like life is amazing." And it is, it's great, but there's definitely a lot of like behind the scenes like angst, and I'm just never satisfied, and I'm like always trying to be better. And like, you know, I have to tell myself all the time, like, no one is going to hear that thing that you hear. The
Yeah.
fill is not rushing. Like, you're not behind the beat in the chorus. Like, it's fine. So
Yeah.
that is definitely a big thing with me.
It's
And
definite. Yeah, go on.
I was gonna say, I mean, it's both good and bad, right? Because like it helps me be better. Like it drives me to get better, but it also makes me sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's relatable. That's definitely something that I would be surprised to find out anyways. That
Yeah.
whole answer. Um so don't have much left to ask you now, but like one thing I'm wondering, what is something you're looking forward to after this whole self-isolation?
Um, I think I'm gonna have a new perspective on touring and on life in general. I think we're very much in it right now, and it's tough to have perspective at this moment. Like,
Mm,
you know, it's just like kind of head down, try to get things done, try to stay sane, try
yeah.
to keep up the yoga practice, all that. But afterward, I think or I hope that there will be for me and for other people just a perspective shift of like, I was try to get out of the rat race a little bit, and just slow down and appreciate the things around you, because like we're all going through this time where we don't have them.
Yeah,
um,
true.
so I
Really,
think
really good
I think
point, yeah.
yeah, I think that will happen, or I hope that'll happen.
I'd say it will now, hopefully, and I hope that happens for like everyone in a way, like because it needs probably it's no harm, so
Yeah,
definitely it's something good. And finally, I just want to know if you could have asked yourself one question in this podcast, what would it have been?
hmm.
Now, it's kind of a hard question.
Did you practice today?
Did you
and,
practice today?
and the answer is no, not yet, which is
No, but
which is
it's
a good
early
reminder.
days yet.
Yeah, it's only 1 p.m., so I still
It's
have
only
time.
1 p.m. Yeah, it's 9 p.m. here. It's 1 p.m. there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, firstly, do you want to just, well, lastly, do you want to just like tell people where they can find you?
Sure. Instagram is probably the best place at Marshall Drums. I also have a website, andrewmarshallbeats.com. Um, I'm on Facebook and Twitter and all the things, but yeah, Instagram is probably the best one.
Perfect. And YouTube, by the way, I just want to mention this really quick. Andrew, you have a YouTube channel, and it's really, really cool. If you want to like kind of like see visually what I've talked about, like when we were talking about like looking out into the crowd and like seeing what you do, you have these like amazing drum cam videos on your YouTube channel. So if they just type in is it Andrew Marshall and then drum cam, I'm sure you'll get them up. They're really, really cool. They're well worth a watch.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. I'm new to the YouTube thing. I'm trying to put some more videos. I'll put some more videos up there. But
Yeah, you should definitely take advantage of the YouTube algorithm.
yeah. Yeah, so I've heard it's pretty good.
Yeah. Andrew, thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. It's
I had a
awesome.
good chat. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did, and if you would please subscribe to this podcast and rate it wherever you are listening, it would mean the world. Thanks, and see you next time.